Hey there, I'm Jeff Toth, founding partner of LuxeAlly Real Estate in San Diego. And I want to share a story about a homeowner who was not my client who lost $1 million. Now, what led me up to this is I actually just got finished writing an article for our website, and I'll put the link in here for you to take a look at. And it's 9 tips homeowners should know on maximizing the value or the proceeds of your home when you sell your luxury home. But there's 2 main points in that article that bring me to this story: pricing your home correctly and hiring the right agent. So the story goes like this. Maybe over a year ago, I had been in contact with a homeowner. They weren't a home seller, they were a homeowner, because I knew of a buyer who was interested in their property at about $6 million, which was a proper valuation if you looked at the comps at the time. And I brought it to this homeowner, and they were intrigued, but they just weren't ready yet. And that makes sense. I came out of the blue. There's things going on in their family, and they just weren't ready to be able to accept that type of offer. So they didn't really entertain it, but they were planning on selling. So about 6 months later, when they were ready to sell, we talked again. Unfortunately, the buyers I had were no longer interested, but I did stay in contact with that seller. And I was still, it was a great place, and I was still interested in working with that seller on that property. But ultimately, they didn't hire me because they had a relationship with another agent that had helped them buy that property. Now, here's the thing. The agent that they had the relationship with hadn't sold a house in over 2 years. Okay, they were, and it makes sense. They're kind of more retired, and they, just still had a license and worked on referrals. So I bowed out, a little disappointed. And then I watched when they put the house on the market. And this is where things got interesting. So as I said before, my buyer and the comps made this house look to be about $5.96 million. They put it on the market for almost $7 million. That was interesting. So I was curious. Maybe I stalked the house, but I watched it. And I watched 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. Over 6 months go by in this house, nothing, no movement. Finally, we went up into the holidays, and they took the house off the market. Super common, no problem with doing that. A lot of people do that during the holidays so they could have the house available for their families. After the holidays were over, they put the house back on the market, but at a different price. They put it on at $5.9 million, basically where my buyers were already at. But here's the thing, it didn't sell right then at $5.9 million. Another month goes by. Another month after that goes by. I think it was about 3 months the property was on the market. Finally, I saw the pending. Finally, it goes pending. Now, here's the thing with pendings, though. It doesn't really show what the pending offer is. It just shows the house is pending. So the house stays in pending for another 3 months, maybe. It took quite a while. I don't know what was going on in the background. Obviously, there was a lot of negotiation. But finally, the home closes. Final selling price for this property, $5 million. I had a buyer for basically $6 million. So how did this seller lose? I mean, this is legitimate, lose $1 million. So I believe there are 2 main factors that affected this outcome of the house. First was the pricing. At $5.96 million, the pricing made sense. At $7 million, it no longer made sense. So anybody looking at buying the property, they go from thinking, hey, how can I get this property, to, why is it sitting so long? What's wrong with this property? So therefore, after the property sits for too long, I'm sure people have heard this a million times, really what you get to work with now are lowball offers. It's hard to go back. It's better to capture it in the beginning. Second problem with this is, it's not nice to say, but it's true. The agent was no longer relevant for this type of transaction. They hadn't been in the market. They no longer were networking. They didn't have their finger on the pulse of what's actually happening in real time, to know who these buyers are on or off market, to get feedback from other agents, to really be able to pull from the pool of people who are really out there that could purchase a property like this. The other thing is just relevance with technology, all the marketing and all the tools and all the things that are required now to sell a luxury property. They didn't have that skill set anymore. Essentially, they put the sign in the yard. You can't really have a sign in the yard of this property, but you know, as the saying goes, put the sign in the yard, put it on Zillow, and hope for the best. And unfortunately, that decision cost this homeowner $1 million. If you have any questions about evaluation of your home or marketing strategies, how to reach off-market buyers, feel free to reach out. Once again, my name is Jeff Toth. I'm founding partner of LuxeAlly Real Estate in San Diego. My number is 858-630-8997. And thank you very much for watching.